Hello and welcome to EQUIP2021. Now we're going to welcome on stage the President of the Association of European Qualitative Research in Psychology, Ms. Maria Del Rio.
Thank you, Angelica. Hi, everyone. When I was first invited to do a brief speech to open this event, if I'm honest, I just panicked. After all, it is our first conference and it takes place after a very rough period of time. I mean, here we are sitting behind our screens instead of being able to enjoy Greek landscapes. But soon after this first reaction, I realized the unique opportunity I was being granted. Today, I am honored and thrilled to open our first EQUIP conference. When we look into the history of qualitative research in psychology, we realized that what we define today as qualitative research has actually multiple epistemological, theoretical, and disciplinary origins, as well as a variety of socio-historical influences with different traditions. Given this context, the decision to establish EQUIP arose as a necessity within a group of consolidated researchers who work in psychology using a variety of qualitative approaches and coming from different European countries. Actually, the creation of EQUIP can be described as a story with 3 chapters. Chapter 1, one more cup of coffee. During an informal conversation while drinking coffee in Lausanne, Marie Santiago, Marco Geminiani, and I talked about how each one of us had developed a specific qualitative sensibility in relation to our multiple backgrounds: Mexico, France, Switzerland, Belgium, the United States, Italy, Spain. Sitting there at the university cafeteria, we realized that we could play a role among our research communities by raising awareness on the variety of sociocultural traditions in qualitative psychology research and the cohabitation of diversified practices underpinning concepts and theories used in psychology. Chapter 2, Come Together. This coffee encounter led to the proper implementation of 3 interrelated workshops. Actually, the group of experienced researchers I was telling you about gathered together in 2017 in Lausanne, in 2018 in Aalborg, and in 2019 in Leeds. These workshops were co-organized respectively with the help of Marie Santiago, Caroline Demuth, and Brendan Goff. These events were aimed at reflecting actively and collectively upon the state-of-the-art in qualitative psychology research to identify potential needs and actions to strengthen this constellation. So in this second chapter, EQUIP came about, as well as its first board, with Marie Santiago as honorary president, Caroline Demuth as president-elect, Nikos Kalampalikis as our treasurer, Jan de Mol, and now Angelo Benozzo as our secretary, and myself as president. Also, the project of having our first international conference in Greece arose during these workshops, ever since Eleftheria Tseliou and her team have become key agents in making this event possible by overcoming an unimaginable number of challenges with enthusiasm, professionalism, and grace. Chapter 3, Creating Bridges Over Troubled Water. So this 3-chapter story has greatly contributed to define the association's aims. EQUIP is aimed at creating bridges across different qualitative approaches and sociocultural backgrounds across Europe. It is also aimed at creating bridges across fields in psychology that may engage in qualitative research in different ways, as well as across disciplines. Further, its purpose is to create bridges across generations, fostering exchanges between senior and early career researchers. Finally, EQUIP is active in creating bridges with other well-established associations such as SKIP and QMIP, so that we can make visible alternative voices and practices beyond the Anglo-American system. We are experiencing difficult times of crisis in Europe and worldwide due to the pandemic, but not only. We may be thriving to connect or reconnect with people, places, projects, environments. Here we are today in this first international conference to present our work, exchange, and meet people with similar or different approaches, traditions, practices. We are here today collectively to broaden the scope of qualitative research in psychology. I strongly believe that in contemporary times, it is both important and necessary to acknowledge the role of this kind of research within academia and foremost beyond academia, given its potential to explore the complexity of human experiences regarding social inequalities, institutions, ecology, social interactions, materiality, human bodies, technology, and power relations embedded in economic and political systems. We can contribute to this enterprise collectively through the institutionalization of our multiplicity. So a sincere thanks to you participants and perhaps soon to be EQUIP members for making this leap of faith and trusting us by being here. I'm quite sure that together we will make this conference unforgettable as we will create the first piece of a fantastic collage that will continue to evolve. In fact, I'm not only honored for having been granted the opportunity to open this event, but also moved and proud. I personally would like to thank our keynote speaker, Carla Willig, the exceptional panel of guests from our greeting session, and the chairs. I also wish to personally thank the EQUIP board and the executive committee for your unconditional support. Finally, a big thanks to Eleftheria, Caroline and Ginny for your incredible commitment as organizers. On behalf of the EQUIP board and its executive committee, I would like to welcome each person behind your screen and thank you again for joining us in this exciting journey.
Thank you very much, Maria. And now we're going to continue with Ms. Eleftheria Tseliou, Conference Chair, and Ms. Evgenie Georgaka, Conference Co-Chair. Welcome.
Dear Maria, thank you so much for this lovely talk. Dear Angelica, thank you. Dear EQUIP2021 participants, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear invited speakers, I'm also thrilled and, of course, very honored and moved to welcome you today at our first conference of the Association of European Qualitative Researchers in Psychology, entitled Creating Bridges, and co-organized by our association, the Laboratory of Psychology from the Department of Early Childhood Education at the University of Thessaly, Greece, and the Laboratory of Applied Psychology from the Department of Psychology at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. I know, this was not at all what we had all dreamt and planned about. And despite the disappointment that we may all feel due to such overturn in our plans, in our whole lives, as Maria said just before, we have made it. We have actually made it to meet here today, and hopefully with the least possible losses due to the pandemic for all of us. Had it not been for the pandemic, today we would be welcoming you here. There are lovely videos about Thessaloniki in our media gallery. What I would like to highlight right now about this city is that Thessaloniki, throughout its history, has been a hub for a diversity of different cultures and people from different ethnic origins, a crossroads, if you want, of a diversity of traditions. And exactly for these reasons, I think that it would have been indeed an ideal place for us to meet here today. Given our conference theme, which is creating bridges across a diversity of qualitative research traditions in psychology, and highlighting their interrelation with the multiplicity of the cultural and historical backgrounds of the different European countries, all these have been exactly what we envisioned for this first conference. And I think that perhaps the pandemic, in a paradoxical and of course in a dramatic for many of us way, maybe has made this vision even more topical today. As Gregory Bateson would have said, we are all interconnected, and perhaps the pandemic reminds us of this and makes our need to connect even more pressing. And the virtual worlds in which we inhabit for the past year or so, including, of course, this conference now, I think although they disappoint us because we cannot meet each other, I'm looking at my computer screen now, I cannot see any of you, although I would have loved to. On the other hand, they offer us, I think, other chances to meet, for example, by overcoming barriers for many of us, like expenses. So let me give you a very brief glimpse, an overview of what this virtual world of our EQUIP conference entails. More than 300 people have registered for this conference, and they will enjoy a very rich program with esteemed colleagues as guests. Of course, we will thank them one by one when we will be presenting them. They will enjoy, our participants, we will all enjoy one keynote speech, one greeting session, 2 invited panels, the first right after of this welcome talk, 23 symposia, 32 thematic sessions, 40 poster presentations, 3 alternative format presentations, and 1 invited symposium. And I know that some of you have already enjoyed yesterday our pre-conference workshop. And you also have a social program where we will all enjoy one documentary, which we think relates to our conference theme. And at the end of this day, we also have opportunities for us to virtually interact during our welcome online meetings. I know I have started with numbers. I hope this is okay in a qualitative research conference. Let me give you some more numbers now. All this has been the outcome of a long-standing process. 3 years, 35 months in fact, more than 5,000 email messages, at least 27 meetings, and more than 50 people working endlessly for this conference to happen. So let's put some words now next to numbers. All of us have been trying to perform in a collaborative way our EQUIP vision to promote diversity, inclusion, and creativity in qualitative research in Europe by creating a network of people who exchange expertise, knowledge, and why not, debates about qualitative research, but most importantly, to give voice to qualitative researchers from underrepresented countries. I think that these aims are very easily preached, but very challenging to be put into practice. For example, we may not all even agree on how we define inclusion or diversity. And nevertheless, I think that I will use an example of our own context of collaboration and the ways in which ourselves have tried in this context to perform such principles. In June 2018, when I was honored to be invited to chair this conference, I immediately thought of not walking this road alone. I'm a systemic thinker. I prefer systemic minds rather than individual minds. So I was delighted at that time when Caroline Demuth and Ginny Georgaka accepted my invitation to become my co-chairs, and ever since they have been my irreplaceable, my invaluable companions. And together we have managed to create, this is what I would like to believe, and I know they both agree, a context of mutual acceptance of our own and respect of our own differences. Now, at this point, and that was the plan, this is a joint welcome talk, another example of how we have been working together. So at this point, I would give the floor to Caroline Demuth, who would give you an idea of the ways in which our conference program transpires these principles. I'm really sad to share with you the news that Caroline, unfortunately, due to an unexpected health condition, cannot be with us today. It's really a pity because we've walked all this road together, but I know she's with us in her mind, and please do not worry. We know that she will be fine. I believe that she will be fine pretty soon. So Jenny Georgaka will also present Caroline's part, but also a part she has prepared, which will also give you an idea of the ways in which our conference presenters and the constitution of their group also transpires our conference principles. So Caroline and Jenny, thank you so much for being there for me. Jenny, I'm delighted to give you the floor now. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Eleftheria. Hello to everyone. I'm very sorry I cannot see you. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to meet in future conferences. I'm very sorry that Caroline cannot be with us today. She worked so hard for this conference and was so crucial, has been so crucial for it. So I will pretend to be Caroline and I will read her words, which she sent to me yesterday. Thanks, Eleftheria. I want to add that it has also been an honor for me and a pleasure working with you and Jamie over the past 3 years. Qualitative researchers in psychology face many struggles in a discipline that is still dominated by positivistic mindsets, post-positivistic mindsets. Qualitative research is a lively and colorful field that has much to offer to psychology, and this is something that should be made visible. Qualitative research is also a very heterogeneous field, with approaches coming from diverse theoretical traditions, with sometimes conflicting assumptions of how to study a phenomenon. And that can make it a challenge for us to show unity. And of course, each of us is convinced that the approach we work with is the right one. Sometimes this has led to qualitative researchers having more disputes amongst themselves than with their quantitative colleagues. Qualitative researchers may also be so absorbed in the specific approach they work with that they know very little about other existing approaches in the field. Depending on the research tradition you work with, you may attend conferences with a specific focus on that approach, and this is important too. Nevertheless, we are convinced that in order for qualitative research to gain a larger presence in psychology, we need to show unity rather than demarcation. This conference is meant to provide a space for celebrating diversity and creativity, a space for inclusion and building bridges. It is meant to provide a platform for constructive discussions and scholarly exchange between colleagues working in different research traditions. We are very excited that this conference has attracted researchers from quite a variety of research traditions, and we welcome you all. We have, in terms of the different traditions, phenomenological approaches, discourse analysis, various versions of it, critical discourse analysis, Foucauldian discourse analysis, Loughborough approach to discursive psychology, critical discursive psychology. We have ethnomethodology and conversation analysis, multimodal video interaction analysis, narrative psychology, various approaches of it, autoethnography, life history approach, feminist research, critical psychology, grounded theory, both the more realist and the more constructivist versions, ethnography, visual methods, arts-based research and performative social research, social representations, action research, emerging methods. Diversity can also be seen in the various formats and styles of presentations we have in the program. Theoretical papers on methodological topics, empirical research papers, and papers with a more traditional presentation style, as well as papers with alternative styles of presenting. Last but not least, we will have a panel discussion on Saturday on the challenges and potentials of the new pluralism in qualitative research, and we are very much looking forward to a lively discussion with many of you there. Let's make this conference an event for constructive exchange, for establishing new contacts that will lead to mutual respect and fruitful collaboration. This is from Caroline. Now I'm going back to being myself and speaking my own words. And I would like to thank on my behalf Eleftheria and Caroline for working together for this conference. It was an honor to be invited as a co-traveler in this journey, which I very much enjoyed. When the association was founded with an expressed aim to bring together the different qualitative research traditions in psychology in Europe, and we started working towards the conference, I became acutely aware of my lack of knowledge of the different research traditions in Europe. Caroline was the most knowledgeable of the three of us, because of her position in between traditions, educated within the German system, working within the Scandinavian context, with collaborations with academics working in the Anglo-American system. I, myself, had a vague idea that apart from the Anglo-American tradition of qualitative research in psychology that is the most well-known, there were distinct research traditions in other areas of Europe: the French-speaking countries, the German-speaking countries, the Scandinavian countries, and the countries influenced by the Russian psychology tradition. The aim of the association and of the conference is to acknowledge, respect, and honor the diversity of European qualitative research traditions in psychology. This, in my mind, can only be accomplished through becoming aware of the plurality of research carried out in different European countries, understanding the socio-historical context of these research traditions, valuing their input, and building bridges between them in order to enrich qualitative psychology research in Europe and also promote its unique contribution. That meant reaching out to colleagues working in different countries and within different traditions and encouraging them to participate. In the past years, we have made considerable attempts to identify such colleagues, inviting them to join the international committee of the conference and to present at the conference. It also meant keeping an open mind regarding evaluating methodologies and approaches we were not familiar with and the quality of which we could not easily assess. This was the topic of considerable debate between us when you're reviewing submissions. It also meant actively putting limits to the presence of the dominant Anglo-American paradigm and keeping balance between the different European traditions. This was an issue we faced when deciding about keynote speakers and invited panels and symposia, where we had to make tough decisions to restrict the numbers of presenters from dominant countries and include as many as we could from usually underrepresented countries. I think we made it. This can be seen by the number of European countries represented in the conference. Overall, participants come from 28 European countries, covering pretty much the whole of Europe. You can still, though, spot in the map the underrepresentation of Balkan countries and Eastern European countries, despite our considerable efforts over the past 2 years. Furthermore, we try to give voice to representatives of different European countries, inviting them to give us an overview of qualitative research in psychology in their country in the panel that will immediately follow. A final word: diversity is also reflected in the stage of career development of presenters. We try to make the conference open and welcoming to both established and new researchers so that we can both share expertise and foster the emergence of a new generation of innovative qualitative research. We think there is a good balance between senior and early career researchers in this conference, and I'm sure you will be able to appreciate it in the course of the conference. Thank you from me. Back to you, Eleftheria.
Jenny, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, we're just about to begin, right? We hope that you have all by now been familiar with our online platform and you received a notification that now the parallel sessions will be diverted through Zoom, which is something we all are more used to employ and use in our presentations. But keep an eye for updates and notifications. You know, you can always reach for help in our help desk. This is the email that you all have where you can reach out. I hope that you will allow us, I think this is the right moment, for a few minutes to go backstage, because we would definitely want to thank one by one the people who have worked and contributed to the making of this conference, starting from our past and present members of the EQUIP board. Thank you so much for your trust, most of all. Our president, Maria Del Rio Caral, Nikos Kalabalikis, Caroline Demuth, Jan de Mol, and Angelo Benozzo. Our past and present EQUIP executive committee members, including also Themis Apostolidis, Joe Brooks, Noleg Frost, Marco Geminiani, Brendan Gaff, Abigail Locke, and Simon Goodman. Of course, to our thanks to our honorary EQUIP president, Marisa Diago de la Foz. to the collaborating laboratories, the Laboratory of Psychology, Department of Early Childhood Education from the University of Thessaly, and the Laboratory of Applied Psychology from the Department of Psychology at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and to the whole of our association, of course, for trusting us with this event. We would like to thank the members of the National Conference Committee for their work, Γιώργο Μπακούμκιν, Χριστίνα Θανασιάδη, Ευρυνόμη Αυδή, Ειρήνη Αυγουστάκη, Αφροδίτη Μπάκα, Ιωάννα Μπιμπουνάκου, Νίκο Μποσατζή, Λία Φίγκου, Δήμητρα Γευροπούλου, Φιλία Ίσαρη, Βίκη Κοκκίνη, Ασπασία Μάντσιου, Ιωάννα Μωραΐτου, Κατερίνα Νανούρη, Αντώνη Σαπουτζή, Σοφία Τριλίβα και Φανή Βαλαή, but of course also to the members of the International Conference Committee. Please, my apologies if I mispronounce any of your names. Θέμης Αποστολίδης, Άντζελο Μπενότσο, Νεμπόσια Μπλανούσα, Βικτόρια Κλάρκ, Γιάν Τεμόλ, Μαρία Ντελ Καράλ, Μαριλένα Φατιγκάντε, Μάικλ Φόρεστερ, Νόλεκ Φρόστ, Μάρκο Τζεμινιάνι, Βλάντ Κλαβενό, Μπρένταν Γκάφ, Νίκος Καλαμπαλίκης, Άμπιγγελ Λοκ, Eva Magnusson, Radomir Masaryk, Günther May, Katja Mruk, Aglaya Briborski, Joseph Rax, Sarah Riley, João Manuel Castro Faria Salgado, Marisa Diango de Lefos, Ernst Straube, Rachel Shaw, Anneke Schulz, Lynn Tangard Petersen, Irina Todorova, Jarl Wallström, and Sue Widikop. Our special thanks to the director Andreas Siadimas for offering us his lovely documentary Mataroa, which we invite you to join us to watch tomorrow. And of course, our very special thanks to Symvoli, the conference organizing company, Vicky Papadimitriou, the managing director, Maria Stoimeno and Angelika Kutsafti. You have to know that they have been here for us, even though her company was suspended due to the extensive lockdown in Greece. And of course, thanks to our sponsors, Open University Press, Sona Systems, Gutenberg Publications, Ekdosis Papazisi or Papazisi Publications. But most importantly, our special thanks to all of you who have stayed with us with our vision and are here today. Thank you so much. Ευχαριστούμε in Greek. Welcome to the first conference of the Association of European Qualitative Researchers in Psychology. Καλώς ήρθατε. So let's begin. Let's go and see now our first event, our international panel. See you all there. Welcome.